I stand outside in the rain. I take the physical pain. At the end of the day, the girl's what I want. I know you've been waiting for this, but the wait is over. I am beyond happy to be the first one to bring you, at this point, I want to say, probably the coolest unit in my studio, and it has some competition. The new Stamchild Sa-670 MKII tube compressor. Let's get to it. Let's get right into it. I know you guys are eager to hear it in action, but a few words before we go to the audio test. First of all, I waited a little bit to do the video because of course I wanted to get familiar with the unit in my studio, using it on projects for clients, even though I heard the unit before, even before it was here. But of course, having it here in my environment, using it on day-to-day work, it's a different thing. And I absolutely love this compressor. You will hear for yourself, but a short premise. First, I think many people think or imagine the 670 as an extremely colored compressor, which is really not. I mean, of course, in here we have a bunch of tubes and transformers, and we'll go into the technical details. And it can be driven hard and bring color, but the main thing about the 670 is its action. No other compressor, I want to say, act and react like this one. The curve of the compression is just as important as the color that the components bring. I would describe it as the classiest compressor I have here, and I want to say that is out there in the market. I myself was surprised because since I had it, made every single project I worked on. And one of the reasons is because this 670 has a bunch of added modern feature to it that makes it perfect for modern music and so much more versatile, while remaining faithful to the original 670. And in particular, I want to stress this, the curve of the compression. But let's take a look at the front plate and the specs. When Stam was developing the Sa-670 MKII, there were two main goals. One, the audio path had to remain as close as possible to the original unit. And second, the compression curve had to be identical to the original. With this in mind, and where those goals were achieved, only then there were the new feature added, and they carefully tested each component and its interaction with the circuit. So let's talk about those components, because one of the reasons, because the Stamchild and not others is exactly there. This unit has 8 premium transformers made by AMI in US and Brian Sauter in UK. So right then and there you have the original names for the transformers, plus 18 tubes, GNOZZI'S 6BA6 and 12AX7. German-made faceplate, neutral connectors, and historically correct meter and knobs. And to keep the cost down, this also answers a common question, why this is cheaper than other options out there. It's because the power supply, which does not affect the audio path, has been changed from a tube-based power supply to a more reliable and stable solid-state power supply, which again has no bearing on the sound of the unit. On top of that, of course, Stam sells directly, so you don't have to pay extra for the distribution channel or for a trademark for a fancy name on the faceplate. But let's take a look at the controls. Now, mine is the mastering version, so everything is a switch here. It's a stereo dual mono vari-mu compressor. We have the meter knobs. As you can see, for each channel we have BAL, 0 and BAL. So the meters on this unit, they don't read the same as any other unit where you can set the input or output of the gain reduction. The meters instead give you a general idea of what happens to the voltage and the current in the tubes. This being a push-pull unit, you can set the metering to show you what happens in the push, first BAL, in the pull side of the circuit, or the 0, which would be the closest thing to give you a reading of the gain reduction. Next to them, we have the 2 big input gain knobs. You use these 2 to drive the input signal harder into the compressor for more color and also more compression. Next, we have our threshold. This is self-explanatory. And then we have our attack and release here called time constant. And here, I think many of you will have the first surprise, because many people associate vari-mu compressors and big tube compressors to be kind of slow. Well, the 670 is lightning fast, in fact. In position 1, we have an attack of 0.2 and a release of 0.3. In position 2, we have 0.2 attack, so same, but 0.8 release, so slightly slower release. In position 3, we have 0.4 attack and 2 seconds release, so here we start the very slow releases. Position 4, we have 0.8 and 5 seconds release. In position 5 and 6, we have the program-dependent releases. In position 5, we have an attack of 0.4 and a 2 seconds release for the peaks and a 10-second release for multiple peaks. In position 6, we have a 0.2 attack, so again, lightning fast, with a 0.3 release for peaks, 10 seconds multiple peaks, and 25 seconds for program material. Our AGC knob left-right can be switched to lat-vert, also mid-side. Down at the bottom, we have all the extra features, which I can tell you this. Without these, I'm not even sure I would use a 670 on anything other than some vocals for modern music. Here we have the low-pass filter with 4 positions. We have it off, we have 90, 180, and mid, which is basically a focus on the mid-range. Next, we have the DC threshold. I want to say this is probably the one control that keep this design so usable nowadays. Basically, look at the DC threshold, and of course the audio example will explain it better, as a combination of knee ratio and amount of grabbiness. So if we leave it as 0, right, this compressor reacts instantly and it grabs and it pulls things down pretty hard. As you move the DC threshold towards the 10, the curve of the compression and the action is much smoother, more musical, less grabby, and you will see that if you compress, let's say, with these settings and you start moving the DC threshold clockwise, you will probably have to adjust the main threshold because it will start grabbing less. And these knobs work in synergy. You will see that you can end up having the same amount of compression, but much smoother and more natural and more musical. It's really hard to put this compressor down in words, but if you have a trained ear, you will hear how amazing it is. Next to the DC threshold, we have a mix knob here for each channel independently, and also an output compensation, which can only attenuate the level, which of course is needed if you push the input so much. So you can literally use it as a color box if you want. The great thing is that these two, the dry wet and the output, have a dedicated bypass here. So if you're mixing the dry signal with the wet signal and compensating for the output, you can instantly bypass it and compare with and without this section without having to turn 4 knobs. On, off, button, and hard bypass here. Without further ado, let's hear it in action.
it, but all you had shown me was down.
Before we continue, if you like the content, please subscribe and consider using the super thanks here and support the channel. And if you really want to learn how to mix and master professionally, click the join button down here, become a MixBus TV member, access the already big and always growing library of full mixing courses, start to finish, mastering courses on many different genres and a lot more. Let's get back to the video.
Make it, but all you had shown me was down. You told me it's useless, just give up and throw in the towel. Ain't seen my potential, I thought you'd be holding me down. But sometimes a king come from nothing, we don't need a crown. Yeah, I got everything I ever could've asked for. Truthfully, it's all the things I would've needed cash for. Like automated lane assist up in my dashboard, or all this drip that got me flying in my passport. I still remember times I came in last more. They ain't believe in me when I was that poor, when I was seeing things and I was mad more, when I was drowning in my demons. You found me in the deep end, you saw me barely breathing and laughed without a reason. Can't help but feel like it was treason, but now that you see me peeking, I hope you know that we even. I'm just tryna sound like what real sound like. I'm still the same down guy, same down vibes. I know that you heard this, I deserve this. After what the hurt did, it'll turn out perfect. I'm just tryna sound like what real sound like. I'm still the same down guy, same down vibes. I know that you heard this, I deserve this. After what the hurt did, it'll turn out perfect. It was about 1,000 times I had to lose, but I had to count on me to make the move. You wouldn't believe the things I had to do. Couldn't let them down, I had to prove. To all my fam, to all my crew, through all the pain that I've been through, I still took a chance, broke all the rules. Haters try to tell me what to do. I had to lose some Z's to get a W. I had to see some things to get another view of everything I dreamed. I saw it coming true. I used to want it all, now it ain't nothing new. I hope she don't take this too personal. Make it, but all you had shown me was down. You told me it's useless, just give up and throw in the towel. Ain't seen my potential, I thought you'd be holding me down. But sometimes a king come from nothing, we don't need a crown. Yeah, I got everything I ever could've asked for. Truthfully, it's all the things I would've needed cash for. Like automated lane assist up in my dashboard, or all this drip that got me flying in my passport. I still remember times I came in last more. They ain't believe in me when I was that poor, when I was seeing things and I was mad more, when I was drowning in my demons. You found me in the deep end, you saw me barely breathing and laughed without a reason. Can't help but feel like it was treason, but now that you see me peeking, I hope you know that we even. I'm just tryna sound like what real sound like. I'm still the same down guy, same down vibes. I know that you heard this, I deserve this. After what the hurt did, it'll turn out perfect. I'm just tryna sound like what real sound like. I'm still the same down guy, same down vibes. I know that you heard this, I deserve this. After what the hurt did, it'll turn out perfect.
Yo, give me some time and just concentrate. As me tell you about this little youth we contemplate. Say him must eat the food till him lick down pan plate. So the little youth decide to put big gun pan waist. Say him while out and go all insane. Say him hotter than that brother run to all in vain. Mama rose to him was all in vain. Now she cry and a ball in pain. Just because the youth start rob and kill, and say him not gonna stop until well as them sell it by the gun, dead by the gun. And so by it him wanna brain get pop and spill. Now him gone, can't see him again. Sad song I sing for him again. No advice, mama can't give him again. I know me not gonna see my friend, because him gone, can't see him again. Another retaliate for him again, but pastor can't pray for him again. Another sad story, it's him again. And then make me tell you about my virgin, just sentinel. Used to chant and sing till the man get sent to hell. But some never wish just sent he well, cause them know him was a sent rebel. Yo, me and him was in the same class in a high school. No few to the music, he and high school. Even in the early days, him stand up as a rasta. The fire in him, them coulda never try cool. Him used to have vision and dream. Big concert in a stadium for the whole world see him. But no studio when go them turn him down. But but him never lose him self-esteem. Me never have much, but the little when me have that me did the game. So me said to him, just send it. Come in on me yard, come make we build the tracks plenty. Yo, the man full up of creativity, him never empty. But him never get the help what him really need. And to the point him lose him son where him recently seed. Little after that come him turn feel.
Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am whole again. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am fun again. However far away, I will always love you. However long I stay, I will always love you. Whatever words I say, I will always love you. I will always love you. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am whole again. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am fun again. However far away, I will always love you. However long I stay, I will always love you. Whatever words I say, I will always love you. I will always love you. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am whole again. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am fun again. However far away, I will always love you. However long I stay, I will always love you. Whatever words I say, I will always love you. I will always love you.
I stand outside in the rain. I take the physical pain. At the end of the day, the girl's what I want. I stand outside in the rain. I take the physical pain. At the end of the day, the girl's what I want. You see this world that we're living in, I see all other life just giving in 'cause of you. You're so hot that you could turn sun blind on the mysteries of love and fear. She's got me working through the night. I'll take the fortune and fame. Don't need the critics' acclaim. At the end of the day, the girl's what I want. I stay up all night and day, give all my money away. At the end of the day, the girl's what I want. 'Cause the girl's what I stand outside in the rain. I take that physical pain. There's not much left to say. The girl's what I want.
And I don't think there's anything that I should add because this beast speaks for itself. Yet I could talk about it for 2 hours straight with a smile on my face because that's how I feel every single time I use it. Even though I had it for a while now, I mixed and mastered several projects with it, and still, right now, while I was doing the test for you guys, it just made me smile every single time. And I hope you enjoyed the trick that I did on Bella's vocals, running channel 1 into channel 2. If you missed it, go back and rewatch it because that's another amazing trick that you can do with this. Of course, it gets expensive because if you want more channels or more vocals on it. But jokes aside, this thing is the real deal. Not just because, in my opinion, it's the best 670 that is out there on the market, but because it's an actual deal. And I know not everybody can afford something like this, but we are talking about literally the holy grail of tube compressors out there. My advice is, if you want it, get it before run out of stock, because that's what happens with all the stem units. As soon as a new batch is out, it's sold out within a very short period of time. Allow me a couple of things that if you're not familiar with compression or you're not familiar with this type of unit and you just wanna go back and listen more carefully, I started with no compression at all. Basically unity gain. So no compression going, the input where it matches the output bypassed, and you will hear the default tone box. It adds this, it's funny because I still can't put it down in words. If we were talking about another compressor, any other compressor, I could tell you like this rich low mids or more brightness at the top. With this one, it's just something. It's definitely focused with those settings in the low area, and by low I mean all the low end. It just makes it bloom. And as you turn the input, you really start hearing more the tube saturation and the mid-range getting richer and the top end getting richer. But it's not the really high top that can get annoying sometimes, also with tubes. But it's that nice audible range that helps things cut through the mix. And you heard on the rock vocal at the end is that sound. It's just just that heftiness to the vocals, and I just freaking love it. I mean, you see my honest, genuine reaction to this compressor. And before the questions, yes, I have experience with pretty much all the other 670 out there that are out there at the moment, and I simply prefer this one. I also had the chance to do a little bit of consultation for a couple of things and transformers and position, and I kind of tuned it by ear at that point when the unit was done, and it's, for me, it's just amazing. And differently from others 670 that I heard or I work with, including some vintage ones. Some of the vintage one were like too vintage for modern music. You lose a little too much transient, or you lose a little too much top end. Other versions were the opposite, were kind of bright, and the 670 is not really, it doesn't have that kind of brightness, not what I'm expecting to it. This is everything, a whole combination that you can retain the transient. You heard, I mean, we're talking about an attack of 0.12 milliseconds, and you heard it on the drums. It has this magic density to it, which, of course, I mean, when you have so many transformers and tubes, I guess this is what happens. But anyway, this is the video. I hope you guys liked it, and if you have questions, leave them in the comment down below. The link to the Stamchild is going to be in the info box down below as well. Use the super thanks if you like the content, you want to support the channel, subscribe, all that, and click the join button to access the exclusive content. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Stay safe and see you next time.